Welcome to the Social Workers radio talk show on WCDB Albany 90.9 FM with co-host Dr. Eric Hardiman and Alyssa Lotmore. Here at the Social Workers, we address issues important to our communities with social work students, alumni, and community partners as our guests.
As part of the University at Albany School of Social Welfare, we hope to take social work beyond the classroom and agency settings and directly to the public, because the public is the client. Catch us on air, online, and anytime.
Welcome to the Social Workers on WCDB Albany. My name is Eric Hardiman, and I'm here with Alyssa Lotmore. Welcome back, Alyssa.
Hey, Eric. Great to be here as always.
How's it going for you?
It's going good. It's moving along.
Yeah, we've had a good run of shows here in our newly reconfigured version of the Social Workers, and I'm really enjoying the show, and I hope you are as well.
Yeah, and for those who missed our 10-year anniversary episode, this is our 10th year, and we've changed the show so much, and it's really exciting. It's all good. It's like an evolution of trying to see how the show works and moves toward the times of what are people looking for, what types of topics, what students want to be involved, how is tech incorporated more into the classroom. So I'm really excited to see where we started and how far we've come, and also where we're going to keep going.
Yeah, and so if you're listening to the show and you're new to the show and you haven't heard us before, we call the show the Social Workers. And that's kind of interesting because we talk about social work as a profession, we talk about social issues, but it's not just for social workers, it's for the community. And we really kind of think of the show as a public service platform, a place to talk about community issues related to social justice, issues related to the community at large. So, but it's interesting that we still call it the Social Workers because we're social workers and we're in a school of social work and school of social welfare. And so that's kind of interesting, but not everybody knows what it means to be a social worker or what social work even is.
They don't, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know about every profession either. I'm a routine blood donor every 56 days when I'm cleared. And I remember the woman just put the needle in my arm and the blood starting to be drawn, and she was we're just chatting. And she said, "Oh, you're a social worker. Does that mean you work like you must work CPS, right?" And that was her first assumption of what social work was. And it wasn't like a negative. That's what she thought the profession was. So as my blood's getting drawn, I'm explaining a little bit about how diverse social work is and all that we can do. So it's good to realize. It was a reminder that everyone does not always know what social work is when we say we're social workers.
Yeah, or the difference between social work and social welfare. I mean, I was just watching the news recently and, hearing about the Build Back Better bill that's before the Congress and Senate now. And one of the things they were talking about was that this is an example of a social welfare bill. And, it really a package. And it really kind of highlighted for me that not everybody uses that term social welfare or uses it the same. People think social workers do child protective work only, or they think social workers maybe only work in schools. But social work is a really incredibly broad profession that touches on a lot of areas of society, a lot of areas in the community. Not just in terms of direct service, but in terms of policy, in terms of politics, in terms of the betterment of our society at large. And so, but it can be vague. It can be a little confusing. It can, it's not always crystal clear.
It isn't. I didn't even know what social work was when I started college. Like, I didn't really understand it. I came in as an education major. I wanted to be a teacher. And I did my first semester or second semester here. I did an internship in an elementary school in a kindergarten classroom. And the whole time I was there, I was like, there's so much stuff going on in kids' houses. And how come I don't really get to handle that? And they're like, the teachers are like, well, that's not really what your role is right now. It's really the academic piece. So I remember taking one of the kids to the social worker, and I just was sitting waiting while this child was having a session. And I was like, that's what I want to do. She's on the phone. She's calling parents. She's talking about ways to and helped with the community. And
Yeah.
that's how I figured out what social work was, but I didn't have a concept or understanding of it before. And that's just one example of school social work. It's not even
Yeah.
really an all social work, but I didn't know when before going into college and having that experience really what a social worker was.
Yeah, and interestingly, I had a similar experience in the sense that, when I was an undergraduate student many moons ago, I had no idea what social work was. And, I had a sociology minor and I was really interested in topics that related to populations and problem areas. I was interested in homelessness. I was interested in a lot of different things, but never connected it to social work. I never really knew what social work was. And when I found out, this light bulb kind of went off, and it was like, oh, I could actually do something with this and make a difference. And that was really eye-opening for me at a young age. And kind of led me toward this profession. So it's also a time right now. The whole reason we're talking about like what social work is and how everybody doesn't always know what social work is that we're thinking about, it's admission season. We're thinking about applications, and people are considering going back to grad school or undergraduate. Maybe you're considering getting your undergraduate degree if you're graduating from high school, but people may be considering career options. And it's a time right now when jobs are plentiful, opportunities are plentiful. There's an incredible amount of work to be done in our society. And so as we think about like who might be applying to our social work program, it just sort of made sense when you and I were having conversations, Alyssa, about like, what is this social work thing and what do other people think it is and what do we think it is here at the School of Social Welfare at University at Albany.
So that brings us to today's episode, which is not like any other episode we've ever done. We sort of randomly asked people in the building, other social work professionals, I should say, what social work is and why it's important and where do they see it going. So this episode's going to be a little bit different, but it's going to give some clips as to what people think social work is and what it means to them and how they all have different backgrounds. And you can see that in the episode that we're all doing different areas of social work practice.
Yeah, social work is a profession that brings together different perspectives and brings together different voices. It crosses boundaries. I mean, we talk about it as being like a boundary spanning profession. It's, we're sort of not in between the lines, we're across all the different lines. And we have different voices and different perspectives and maybe even different like thoughts about what social work is. So Alyssa and I thought, why not just ask some of our colleagues, some of the faculty, staff, and students here at the School of Social Welfare and find out what social work means to them.
So they're going to have 3 questions. And as we jump into the show, Eric, do you want to let's discuss what question 1 is that they'll be
so we came up with 3 questions. We really wanted to kind of frame this as like past, present, and future. So the first question that we really wanted to ask people was, why social work? Why did you get into social work? Why is this profession the one for you? And then the second question, which we'll get to after that, but the second question is, why now? Why is social work important to you right now in this moment? What about this present moment makes social work important? And then the last question, past, present, and future, is what about the future of social work really excites you? What's the next step for social work, and what's your vision for where social work might be headed? So let's stick to the first one for now, which is why social work. And let's hear directly from the folks who we talked to. And we're not going to ask questions here. We just asked that initial question, why social work? And we're going to let them talk.
Why social work? So let's see. I came to social work through a very tangential way. I was a theater and dance major. I worked in, doing theater and dance for a while. And then I ended up working in a nursing home and realizing, seeing what the social worker did in the nursing home and saying, wow, I really want to do more of that. Then I came to the MSW program here at UAlbany and engaged in a first-year internship in a community mental health center and realized, hey, what I really liked about working in nursing homes and in hospice was really meeting people where they're at. And so then in my second year, I did the internships in mental health program, AIM, Albany Internships in Mental Health Program, and sort of honed in my skills in working with people with mental illness and various coping strategies. And it was a really awesome experience to expand the sort of definition of therapy and creative engagement in a healing way. And so now I'm here at the School of Social Welfare doing admissions, helping sort of bring along our next generation of social workers.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Miller. I'm an associate professor in the School of Social Welfare at the University of Albany. So the first question is, why social work? Probably because it's the best profession out there. Social work is the profession that lets us weave lots of things together in the human condition. There are very distinct things like teaching and medicine and law, but social work weaves all those things together. And that's why I think social work is really an important profession and why I'm in it.
Hi, my name is Won-Young Lee. I'm an associate professor at the School of Social Welfare. I think my understanding of social work is expanding each year. Personally, when I applied for social work, I was focusing on the idea of advocating for someone who doesn't have a voice. And I was also very interested in the process of building communities where the resources were scarce. So, even during the social work program, I was heavily focusing on the courses that were about community organizing and community development. And also, social work was the field where I found urban planning, where I pursued right after MSW. And I think I'm still somewhere in between where the two fields are meeting. And I'm very excited about the process and outcome of the community revitalization. But over time, I find that the social work is a lot more holistic, and it's beyond just the community. It's beyond just one neighborhood. It's beyond individual or policy. So I think it's a profession really that helps us to see the multi-level forces that really move the systems, move the society.
Hi, my name is Dawn Knight Thomas, and I am the Assistant Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the School of Social Welfare. Why social work? Social workers believe in social justice and advocating for those folks who are deemed the most vulnerable and oppressed in our society. And we believe in providing services and working with them to get them back up to par, of feeling better and living a better life, to make their lives better. And so I believe everyone has different gifts, and I believe social workers are going to see those gifts within people who have been knocked down by our society so much that they don't even see their own gifts. And so we're able to really work with our clients, not just telling them what to do, but working together. So in that way, after you leave the client, you will be able to leave a trail of what they can do once you're finished working with them as a social worker. Social workers, we work with all races. Social workers come in every race, all ethnicities, religions, sexual orientations, gender identities, transgender status. We are very diverse. And if you want to work with any of these populations, then social work may be what you want to come into to obtain your MSW or your undergraduate degree in social work.
My name is Lonnie Jones, and I am a professor in the School of Social Welfare and the Department of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. First and foremost, I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker in academia, so it gives me a great a vast, broad understanding of why social work. Not so much why social work for me, and we could talk about that forever, but why social work? Social work is so important today because it provides a gateway for not just understanding, but for social change.
Hi, I'm Linda Mertz. I coordinate the Internships in Aging project at the School of Social Welfare. Why social work? I don't know that it was really a choice for me. I always wanted to work with people and have a career where I felt like I was making a difference in the world and making a difference for other people. So that's what brought me to social work. And working with older people has been a really wonderful highlight of my career. And part of my job is to convince other social workers that is where they would like to do their work as well. It's very important for social workers to know about working with older people these days. The aging population is really growing, and seniors want different things these days and have different needs than, I always ask students, do you want to go to a nursing home or do you want to play bingo at your day program? People have lots of different ideas about what they could use to be healthy seniors in the second half of life. So we need more social workers trained in working with older people and their families, and that is not going to stop. That's an important area of growth for social work, and a place where people can make a real difference in people's lives.
Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm a doctoral student at the School of Social Welfare. I started in social work because I really wanted to get into research, and research that would potentially change society and the injustices that are going on.
And those were some great responses that we had from our faculty, staff, and students.
Yeah.
And
Really intriguing.
it really is interesting to hear the different definitions of, or different reasons for why people think social work is important. I mean, it's all related in some, when you really piece everything together, but everyone has their own, populations or own areas of interest that drew them to their field, drew them to this field. And it's always nice to hear that it's not just, one kind of commonality. But I think that one commonality is that everyone wants to make positive change,
And
especially in areas of
dedication.
social justice.
Yeah, and just the dedication, just hearing, I can hear it already in those initial answers that people are really passionate about this thing called social work, that no matter what angle they approach it from, this is something important to them. And they're in this for a reason. And so, again, if you're a listener and kind of checking out social work as a potential career option, we hope you'll get in touch and, reach out to us and we can talk more about social work and how the classwork prepares you, how the field work and internships prepare you for this great profession. So let's get to our next question, right? The next question was,
why now?
Why
And
now?
I think turning on the news, we can sort of get an idea of why now.
Yeah,
if we see
but
everything that's going on, but let's hear what everyone else has to say.
We really wanted to hear it in their words. So, so we just kind of framed it that, why now? Why social work right now for you? And here's what they had to say.
Now is important because as we know, our country, our state is shifting so much, whether it is shifting politically, and social workers have a place in that for social change and to bring issues around social justice, as well as socially. We know that our nation socially, while there are many people who are doing well and people are okay, we know there are a group of people who aren't doing well financially, socially, emotionally. And social work plays an important role in making sure and helping individuals to get over that hurdle, whether it means getting them to a doctor, helping them better understand vaccination mandates or vaccination for them or their families, or it may mean helping them to deal with the stress and the impact the pandemic has played beyond the economic piece. So that's why now.
COVID has certainly shown us the importance of social interaction in people's lives as they're aging. And that is something that we don't necessarily, plan for or spend money on, et cetera, et cetera. It's social workers who realize how much people need people, and we can really plan new services, find ways of getting people together, building community together. It's all very important, and COVID has really shown us how important that is. We've also lost a lot of services through the pandemic, and we need to find ways to build that back up and work together to provide more for people.
Why now? Because with the pandemic, things are really topsy-turvy. There's a need for mental health, I believe, on a level that we have not seen. Just watching the news and just the chaos and the confusion that's taking place all over our country. And so as social workers, we have the skills to go in and work with communities, work with individuals, work in an agency, to do so many things so that we can assist our communities and our clients.
I think it's a time where we need social workers. I think it's a time that more than ever that really we need people who can build bridges. Or in other way, I think it's a time more than ever that we really need people who can be the bridges. So for the past few years, there were a lot of conversations about divides in the society. I can imagine, right? There were a lot of conversations about political divides, ideological divides, wealth gap, right? Digital divide. And I think when I think about all these different divides, I mean, social workers can really be the bridge who can bridge the resources and bridge the power, to be the bridge in the communication. So I see social work as the profession that really brings people together and teach the skills for people to be the bridge in between all these divides.
We are in a state of chaos. Life is really challenging, and it takes a holistic environmental perspective and an ecological perspective to understand what we're looking at. And so a social work training lets us understand not only what questions to ask, but also to help us understand the answers that we're looking at, particularly within the human condition.
I have like 3 things of why now, Alyssa. So my 3 things of why now is community, creativity, and collaboration. So those are like nebulous 3 C's. Those are my 3 C's. And I'm saying community because social workers are based in the community. We are community agents, community advocates. We are part of the community, and we see what's going on the sort of individual and also the larger scale, and have the skills and training to, address issues that arise. Creativity, because we see all those larger issues systemically, and also, issues on the ground, interpersonally, and we're able to, think about it and apply creative solutions. Not always is there a clear path to, addressing complex systems and things. So you have to be pretty creative about it. And collaboration, because nothing exists in a vacuum. And we as social workers, it's part of our profession, literally social work. We need to work with other people. And, it's that collaboration that makes it all happen. Whether it be on the micro level, that we're, working along with our clients or other, resources that our clients are needing, or on the sort of macro level, we're collaborating with, other systems, individuals and organizations, and, other things like other nonprofits. So community, creativity, collaboration. That's my 3 C's of, what's going on with social work right now.
Okay, and more interesting responses there. Boy, it's fascinating to sort of hear the through lines, the common threads. We'll try to tie it together a little bit after the third question, but it's clear to me in listening to these responses that the current moment is really important. It's not one that we can ignore in social work, and people are in social work right now for a reason. Whatever that reason is to them personally, it's important to them.
And now we're going to take some time to say, what next?
What
What do they
next?
see as the future of social work, of the profession? What goals do they have for our field? And let's hear what they have to say.
Yeah, social work is always evolving. It's a profession that keeps changing. And that's why we really wanted to, once we covered the past and the present, it sort of made sense to say, what about the future? Where's it going next? What's your perspective on the future in social work? And again, here we're going to hear directly from faculty, staff, and students here at the School of Social Welfare at the University of Albany about the future of social work.
I would just really like to see social workers incorporated into all aspects of, different fields and jobs and employment, because I think social work, anywhere that you want to improve human relations and human welfare, you should have social work. So really, that's everywhere.
I think it's a very exciting time for social work because personally, I think in general, people's understanding of social justice is expanding. I see more conversations about justice, diversity, right? Our understanding of just social work in general. So for example, I hear more about social determinants of health just instead of public health, right? Also, even in the world of business, I hear more about social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, or corporate social responsibility, right? And even the development, I think people are getting more interested in sustainable development, environmental sustainability. So I think when I think about all this interest in social something, I see it as an invitation for social work. I think this means that there will be a lot of opportunities for social workers to be part of the decision-making process and just advocating for people who don't have as much voice, empowering the process. But it's an exciting time.
I feel like we're back to the very basic bones of social work. Because older people are still barely able to get out of their houses. They're barely able to, access services. If you need surgeries that are considered optional, which might be like a hip replacement, it's not optional if you can't get down your stairs. So I feel like we need to get back to where we were before we can go forward. What I would love to see would be ideally more intergenerational programming where we could see older people and younger people helping each other. I mean, older people are very segmented in their own, they're very isolated in their own areas, houses, services just for older people. Older people still have a lot to give, and our culture is not very good at bringing people together. So I would love to see more things. People sometimes, wouldn't it be lovely if we had an assisted living on campus where students could live in with older people and share meals together and do activities together and the older people could, lend some wisdom and the benefit of having seen things over time, and as well as, students maybe having some opportunity to care for an older person or learn, hear about their lives, sort of broaden their experience, and also have a cheap place to live would be lovely. So
if we do not take a stronger stance on social justice and get more involved in the legality and the issues of justice in this country, I'm really afraid. We're at a place now where state law can dictate how a woman manages reproductive health. State law can dictate how people who have a U.S. citizen right to vote is being challenged. If social work does not get in the middle of all of that, and that's in addition to the various healthcare industries that are still wreaking havoc on brown and black populations and those who are critically underserved. If social work does not get its hands in that, I think we're lost.
Ooh, what's the future? This is my existential, what's the future of social work? So let's see. In my current role doing the admissions at the School of Social Welfare at UAlbany, I get to help read applications of students who are coming in and see the different things that our students are passionate about. And our students are passionate about a whole variety of different things, be it from domestic violence to prison reform to, mental illness, to gerontology, to LGBTQ advocacy. So this huge array of different passions, interests, and that's what social work is really all about, is that we have all of those different populations and levels, micro, macro, meso, that students come in the program with. We prepare you in the program to really engage in that whole variety of social work. And what I see as sort of what's next is all of those social workers graduating with the skills that we provide them in the program and going out and, further impacting change in those areas that they're passionate about, and even maybe finding other areas that they're passionate about along the way. And ultimately, really kind of just working towards the ultimate betterment and, equity in our society. So that's what I'm really looking for and hoping for and see in our next generation of social workers, and I'm excited.
What next? Wow, there's so much next. It's hard to even put that into words. But what's next is that social work, we're going to be very busy as we move into post-pandemic, and let's hope that that's soon. What we do know is that there are going to be still a great number of people, whether in the private sector or in the public sector, need individuals like social workers to help them continue to move forward. And not only thinking of it from a place where we're just helping people, but social work is poised to help to establish new ways of doing post-pandemic, new ways of doing, whether we look at the way that we access healthcare, we look at the way that we interact with family, we look at new ways of how we look at our government and the role that we play. Social workers are poised to direct individuals, to direct agencies, to oversee political offices, or say even serve as commissioners of mental health or commissioners of child welfare. We are in the right place and we will be ready.
So for social work, I think we'll just continue to evolve. We will develop new theories because we shouldn't stay stuck, so to speak. We should continue to evolve so that we're meeting the needs of all of our clients, not just one type of clients, but all of our clients. The needs are being met. So why am I interested in social work, or why should you be interested in social work more so? Well, you should be interested in social work, or if you want to work, be a therapist. Social work is for you. If you enjoy problem solving issues to assist people to get them back on track and to create their greatness within on their journey, then social work is for you. If you want to run for office to impact communities and people, then social work is for you. If you have a genuine passion to work and learn the best way to work with people in need of help, then social work is for you. Lastly, if you want to work with babies, adolescents, or the elderly, then social work is for you. You can't put social workers in a box. We are everywhere doing everything.
And we're back. And that was actually really fun to record today. Really getting to chance to sort of surprise people because no one was prepared for this. As we approached them at their door saying, hey, we need you for 5 minutes to share some thoughts and answer some questions that will be on their air on the radio. That didn't catch anyone off guard and cause any nerves at all, of course.
Not at all. Yeah.
But it was a fun activity for this podcast, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what for you, Alyssa? What about the spontaneity was important about not having people prepare answers?
I think sometimes when we prepare answers, we start looking things up. We start trying to get data and stats for things, and what's going on here, and it's just not as, I think, sometimes as genuine. It might be very well worded and thought out, but I really liked that people just said based on kind of emotion and what they were feeling about, stuff that's going on in society right now, stuff that when they turn on the news, they're like, this isn't okay. We need more social workers to address this. And they had more of that raw, honest response. And I liked that.
Yeah, it's sort of like taking the filter away and getting away from some of the specific terminology and just getting to the heart of the matter. It's like, what does this really mean to you? And it's really rewarding, I think, to kind of hear what people had to say and to kind of put it into a larger context. So again, if you've just tuned in, this is the Social Workers. I'm Eric, and I'm here with Alyssa, and we have been interviewing, hearing directly from faculty, staff, and students at the School of Social Welfare about the past, present, and future of social work for them. And so, yeah, what were some of the things you noticed in the responses there? What really struck you the most?
For me, I would have to say that despite everything that is going on, and some of the things that they said, like that why now piece, like all this stuff that's going on, why we need us, there was that feeling of hope still, like that we can still do this. We need to mobilize, we need to come together, we need to have more people in the field who are able to work with individuals, post-pandemic, with everything that's going on in terms of all the things that we have to advocate for social justice and rights. There's still that hope, that belief that we can make change, that there can be a difference, that we can help amplify people's voices. And that's kind of the message that I got. And I'm holding on to, because sometimes we need to have that, if the people in our profession, we need to, at the front lines, we need to have that hope too. We can't lose that.
Yeah, I think that's a great, I heard some solution focus kind of coming through there, that people say, giving us the idea through their words that social work pushes towards solutions, that it's about making change. It's about making a difference. It's not about accepting things the way they are, but drawing on hopefulness, as you put it, and hope, for the future. I also noticed, like, one of the themes that I picked up on with many of the interviews was this sense of urgency.
Yes.
And maybe that's related to the middle question, why now? But this notion that things are changing quickly in this country, and that there's a lot of division, there's social injustice, there's discrimination and oppression, there's a lack of understanding and a lack of empathy sometimes. And it's easy to get down, quite frankly, when you think about it and you watch the news and you read the newspapers, and it's very easy to feel hopeless. But what I heard amongst the people we interviewed was also a sense of urgency that right now we've got a lot of work to do, and it needs to be done right now. It needs to be done quickly. And that sense of urgency leads to passion, leads to, all right, let's figure this out. What can we do? What tools do we have within the social work profession to deal with complex problems that cross multiple different dimensions within our society? They're not just problems of the educational system. They're problems of education, prison, policing, healthcare, politics. It all interrelates, and it all crosses and gets very complex and challenging. And you think, how could one profession possibly make a difference in all of these areas? But then you start to see that urgency ties it all together, that there are ways that social work as a profession enables people to cross those boundaries and to make a difference.
It does. And one of the individuals we interviewed, I believe it was Dr. Lee, had said, we need to continue to be the bridges, because so much in society right now is just like on one side or the other side, and there's so much arguing and conflict. And as social workers, we help be bridges in that sense, of hearing everyone's saying and helping to get information across in a way that has empathy and listens to everyone and tries to help find solutions.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that more people, because we need more people, we need more people to help, be able to communicate and work with individuals to get us to a place that is much better than where we are now. And I am hopeful, though, that we can get there.
I am too. And just that idea of making a difference in a community is so powerful. That idea that, we could throw our hands up and say, this is someone else's responsibility. We could throw our hands up and say, this will never change. It's only going to get worse. But rather than do that, maybe we can take some of our reactions, whether they be despair, anger, frustration at the system, and actually channel them into meaningful change. And to me, that's what social work is it's like, how do we affect change? How do we make change happen at the individual level, at the family level, at the community level, and then hopefully at the, the national level and the international level, that all of these things are not separate, but they're related. And social workers work at all levels of that. They don't just do therapy. They don't just take, children away from families and child protective settings, but social workers are also policymakers. They're also policy advocates. They're also, community organizers. They're activists. They're people who are helping communities get better and kind of move our society toward a place that's more just and that really treats people in a more equitable fashion than it has to date.
And that's what attracted me to the profession. When I saw that social worker on the phone calling a parent and saying, how can we work together, and saying, what do you need? And how do we then on the phone right after that, calling one of the agencies saying, we need to work together to help this family, and what resources do we have, and all about the making connections and helping to make change. And then going out and advocating, talking to legislators, and doing all of the things that help at each level the individuals that we're working with, because you have to make it's all connected.
And so students learn how to do this. I mean, they learn the tricks of the trade. They learn, how to become change agents. How do you become that person in a community who makes a difference, who gets other people to listen? How do you be the person in a hospital system or a healthcare system that crosses the boundaries between physicians and nurses and patients and families and lawyers? And the social worker is often right there at the intersection of all of those professions, making a difference, kind of putting all of the threads together and making solutions happen, making things get better. And so our program is designed, I think, to give students a real exposure to that and skill training and firsthand experience. If you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking this is kind of exciting and this is, this is a profession you might want to be a part of, then by all means consider coming to our School of Social Welfare. We have a faculty that I think is tremendous. We have students that are amazing. We have opportunities, learning opportunities, internship opportunities. We have students down at the legislature learning about policymaking, learning about advocacy. We have students in healthcare systems. We have students in the schools. We have students in the legal system, students in the prison system. We have students all over the place doing all kinds of incredible work as they learn to be social workers. And that's part of their education, is getting that firsthand experience.
It was such a valuable experience as an alum myself. It was such a valuable experience for me. And we also have incorporated in our curriculum that notion of self-care and how to process what's going on. Because if you think about it, it's kind of a critical component as we're working with so many vulnerable populations, being exposed to injustices and individuals' traumas. It's a lot sometimes for ourselves to take in. So it's also wonderful that our curriculum not only teaches how to make change at the micro, meso, and macro levels, but also how to care for ourselves during that process. Because I can tell you some of the things, as I've been working, even as an intern, that I've seen or, was told by clients, it was stuff that I went home and was like, I'm thinking about this now for a few days. So that's one of the things that social work is not an easy profession. Emotionally, it's not an easy profession, work-wise, you're doing a lot, assessments and courts and policy and everything. But our program has been very good at helping us have the skills and tools to best prepare us to enter that and to be able to tackle all of the many elements that it means to be a social worker.
Yeah, it's such a great program. I mean, educationally, I've always go back to the idea of a social work education being transformative. That someone who goes through a social work program, whether it's an undergraduate program or more of my focus, which is the master's program to get the MSW, the Masters of Social Work, that is a transformational experience. That students, once they get that degree, become a different person than they were at the beginning of the degree. They've certainly got more knowledge and skills, but they've also maybe sharpened their value base. They've kind of figured out and integrated their own personal values with their professional values, and they've got a new dedication to their life and to what they're going to do with their life. And so there's this, I see it all the time. I see, where students just incredibly go through this experience of blossoming at the end, where, they go on to do amazing work. They go on to make a difference in, at the local level, at the state level, at the national level. And it's really remarkable. So again, if you're listening and considering social work, we hope you will come to our website and check it out. At least we're at the University of Albany School of Social Welfare.
www.albany.edu/SSW.
SSW, School of Social Welfare. Yeah, so this has been a lot of fun, Alyssa. This has been great listening to other people, also talking a little bit at the end, you and I, but it's been great to hear from the others, our colleagues, students, staff, and faculty, to kind of really find out what they think.
It was. And like I said, maybe I'll have to incorporate carrying around a microphone and popping in front of people's offices more randomly in the future, because it was kind of fun. Especially the looks on people's faces when they're like, what do you need me to do?
It's like the journalist on the street with the microphone asking people, trying to get the pulse of what's going on. I really like that. Yeah.
So, well, this was a fun episode, and we have many more episodes that will go back to our more normal, typical format coming up in the future. So definitely stay tuned, and we'll see you all again.
Please do stay tuned to the social workers. We are here on WCDB Albany every week. Sometimes we're live, sometimes we play archive shows, but we're always always here on WCDB, but we're also available on other formats as a podcast. And you can catch our old episodes, our current episodes, and you can certainly stick around and stay tuned for future episodes. We're going to have a lot of student involvement coming up soon. We're going to have students actually creating content and creating their own podcast episodes, where we've got collaboration. We've got all sorts of ideas brewing. And I think that's, an exciting chapter ahead for this show, The Social Workers.
And last but not least, be sure to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Twitter with the handle Social Workers FM.
Thanks for listening to WCDB Albany. This has been The Social Workers.